protocol being established, I just want to say, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, and fellow advocates, good afternoon. Let me give a huge vote of thanks to the organizers of the Alex Panton Foundation for all their work they do with the youth and in the community for mental health and awareness. What an amazing organization. I am also so grateful to them for extending the invitation to speak with you and share a little piece of my story, Hidden Blessings, Finding the Good in the Bad. I'm all thumbs. I can't get the paper up. Okay. So my story is not a topic that I share very often, at least not both of the experiences I'm going to share with you, but I feel it's really relevant to this year's topic, and hopefully it resonates with some of you and provides hope and encouragement. Today, as we all join together in this moment of unity and understanding, we bridge our diverse journeys through the shared essence of the human experience, our trials, triumphs, and the relatable feeling of belonging. I think it's always good to reflect on the words of wisdom from those who paved the way to where we, as a community, both locally and globally, are. On that note, let's reflect on the poignant words of Maya Angelou. She's credited with saying, "You may not control all of the events that happen to you, but you can decide not to be reduced by them." How wonderful are those words? They remind me of the power within us all to transcend our circumstances. Today I share my story not to garner anyone's pity or sorrow, but as a celebration and a testament to the hidden blessings that adversity unveiled in my life. I really hope that it can also send a profound message to our youth, especially those who are going through a difficult journey. And that goes for those of you that assist and help care for the youth. So my diagnosis, a journey begins. I'm going to first share with you my journey with multiple sclerosis, or MS. MS is a big, scary word, or multiple sclerosis. And a quick Google search with the words, "What is multiple sclerosis?" reveals a plethora of sites with information pouring out. I chose the NHS site to pull the information on the screen. I'm not going to read it all to you. But the most important part is that multiple sclerosis is a condition that can affect the brain and spinal cord, causing a wide range of potential symptoms, including problems with vision, arm and leg movement, your sensation, and your balance. There's other bullet points from the same site that's elaborated on the screen. Like most illnesses, it is different for every person. There are similarities from person to person, but what I go through on a daily basis can be completely different than one of my friends that has MS. We're the same, but we're different. And isn't that how we all are? My journey with MS began when I was in my teens. But I wouldn't get a diagnosis until 20-some years later. This is one of those hidden blessings that I will talk about because lack of knowing I had a disability didn't hinder my life, and I didn't make any decisions based on my condition. I consider it a hidden blessing that I was misdiagnosed for so many years. When I was finally diagnosed, it's a day that I will never forget. I can tell you the exact date. It was October 31st, 2007. I had experienced many small challenges throughout my teens and in university, things that didn't make sense, and the doctors couldn't diagnose it. One of the most memorable experiences and diagnosis that I received was in university. I was a certified aerobic instructor, and I taught up to 3 classes of aerobics a day at our local gym. And in my quest for what I think all of us have looked for in university, an easy A, right? I signed up for aerobics as my PE class. During that time, remembering that I taught up to 3 classes a day, I was dumbfounded by the fact that I couldn't even make it through my first 5 minutes of university aerobic class. It wasn't because it was harder or more complex. It was because it was outside. And when I taught at the gym, I taught in the air conditioning comfort of the aerobics room. But heat is affected greatly by MS. My instructor at the university sent me off to the school nurse. The doctors and the nurses there diagnosed me with outdoor asthma. They gave me an inhaler, and I puffed on that thing all the time. I puffed and puffed, but it didn't do any good. Needless to say, I didn't have outdoor asthma, nor do I have it now. Little weird things like that would continue to happen, and some type of reasonable explanation would always come up. That was until later in life, when I started to lose my ability to walk. Then I lost vision in one eye, which I've regained. And I also had relentless numbing and tingling in all of my extremities. These particular symptoms helped my doctors diagnose a definite and absolute diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. At that time, I'd never even heard of multiple sclerosis. I didn't know what it was. Faced with the diagnosis that threatened to rewrite my future, I encountered the first of many moments that could have made me feel alienated from the world around me. To the professionals here that work with young people, I know you recognize that desperate feeling that can be presented to you by young people. I can best describe it as a feeling of standing at the edge of an abyss, peering into uncertainty, and wondering if I would ever fit in or be accepted again. However hard that was, I found a bridge to understanding, and I learned that acceptance begins within. One of my hidden blessings from being diagnosed with MS is that it taught me that having a disability does not define my worth or my place in this world. I've learned and I understand that I still belong. I'm still valuable. In fact, my own personal motto regarding MS, I have MS, but MS doesn't have me. MS doesn't define me. It doesn't determine my worth. And it doesn't get to control who I am or who I'll be in the future. From despair to discovery, my feelings of belonging and value didn't come right away. Diagnoses that are life-changing and other forms of trauma in your life take a process. I think it's so valuable to recognize that. You have to grieve. It's okay to get angry. And it's most definitely okay to not be okay. I realize, though, I'm not alone. This realization is a beacon to anyone who has ever felt unworthy or out of place. To the youth listening today, or anyone having those overwhelming feelings of being out of place, know this: vulnerability is not a weakness. but a doorway to genuine connections. In accepting ourselves, we find the strength to share our stories, discovering along the way that countless others are willing to listen, support, and accept us unconditionally. In addition to realizing that people still cared for me, even with my own perception, it was just my perception that I was flawed, I found that other people were suffering with the same feelings. They were suffering by themselves, and hearing my story helped them. Telling your story is part of the process, right? But I found that truly sharing my journey in a most authentic way, what my symptoms were, especially the weird ones that nobody wants to talk about and that maybe your doctors don't know about because they don't have MS, they just treat it. It's through those mutual connections of a shared experience that gives us that normal feeling. That feeling is amazing, especially if you've lost it and you get it back. And it's as simple as finding one person who can share your experience. One of my biggest hidden blessings in my journey with MS was discovering that I could be that one person for many people, regardless of if they had MS or if they had other autoimmune diseases. Our similarities run wide and deep. Now, this part I've never shared publicly, only with some close friends, so I apologize ahead of time if I get emotional with any of this. I really feel like this is the right platform to share it, and in case I forget at the end, I want to extend my ear and my voice to anyone who's experienced this type of trauma. My diagnosis of MS was not my first traumatic experience. MS is invisible to most people, and at least in its initial stages, it's hard to see. When someone looks at me, I don't usually look like I have a disability, and I often hear that dreaded phrase when they find out, "Oh, but you don't look sick." Just a note, I don't really consider myself sick. I just consider myself on a journey. This doesn't mean that I don't have symptoms. I've just learned how to cope with them, work around them. Another relatable fact is that many of us have things. And many, if not most, learn to cope with these things. Another of my favorite sayings is, we all have something. My something is MS. While MS may not be that relatable, my biggest trauma is likely familiar to all the health professionals in the room. The veil that hides my disability, and which is an invisible disability, is parallel to the shadows of child abuse. I'm exceptionally happy to stand here before you today and say, I am a survivor of child abuse. Statistically, child abuse happens to 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys. I think that statistic, it's held true for people that I've talked to, and I think it's really important that we remove exactly what the sign says. We remove the stigma of child abuse, and we talk about it so that it helps other people. The effects of abuse on someone can be paralyzing. It can get in your head and make you feel like you're unworthy. I know this firsthand. Someone I should have been able to trust and that should have provided love, care, and support instead betrayed me and filled my life with doubt. Child abuse comes in many forms. There's all kinds of different types of abuse. And regardless of the form, I find it's always secretive. No one goes out with a banner and says, oh, I abused this person, or I've been abused. You feel like you live in a shroud of secrecy. That can be all-consuming and it can be isolating. A message that I hope reaches all the young people struggling who feel misunderstood, overlooked, unworthy. I say your pain does not make you invisible. Your struggles do not make you less deserving of love or belonging. I feel lucky to be here today, blessed actually, to be able to say I'm a survivor. In my darkest days, I resorted to extreme measures to break free from the abuse. I confided in an adult mentor. I encourage you to be a mentor or to, if you're going through abuse, find a mentor. Mine was a pastor at my church. He helped me remove myself from the abusive situation, and I found light at the end of a tunnel. I found that light in the most unexpected places. I was placed in a homeless shelter for abused women and children. But unlike all the other children there, I was by myself, and I was only 13. And to relate back to what Her Excellency said earlier, I was in my own small boat, and it was a tiny boat. Being 13 and in the shelter by myself, I thought, oh my gosh, this is even worse than what I was going through. But instead, by God's grace, I found peace, hope, and encouragement in the eyes of strangers. They became my friends, and in the words of mentors who believed in me when I couldn't believe in myself. It's so important to remember that you are enough. And there are people who recognize your worth and are ready to build bridges of understanding and acceptance with you and for you, and to always help you. You can't do these things alone. I could never, ever have made that journey alone. But sometimes we don't know who our biggest advocates and pillars of strength are. During both of these times in my life, I found hidden blessings. Some people will call these silver linings or something similar to that. For me, each hidden blessing is a reminder of the resilience of human spirit and the boundless capacity for growth and transformation to the youth feeling adrift. These blessings are beacons of hope, signaling that within every challenge lies the seed of opportunity. Whether it's the solidarity found in shared experiences, the wisdom gleaned from overcoming obstacles, or the joy of unexpected friendships, every moment of hardship carries the potential to lead us deeper to understanding ourselves and our place in the world. And most importantly, to find joy in life and to have hope. When we go through trials and tribulations, it can seem hopeless. But I'm here today to tell you it gets better and life is good. Remember, it's okay to not be okay, but share that with someone. Don't try to not be okay by yourself. I'll give a shout out to all the healthcare professionals and share that it took 8 years of intense therapy for me to be okay. This brings me to share a quote from Martin Luther King Jr. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. I found my voice and my purpose in the fight for acceptance and belonging, for myself and for others. One of my greatest hidden blessings is the opportunity to work in the field of advocacy and inclusion. I have to give a big shout out to Inclusion Cayman, because that's where I work. The journey of advocacy is, of course, not just mine, but it belongs to every young person who dreams of a world where they are free to be themselves without fear of judgment or exclusion. So our youth panel today was such a poignant point of the conference. Remember, your voice matters and your story is important. In speaking your truth, you pave the way for a future where everyone can find their place and know without a doubt that they belong. Regardless of our past, regardless of what others have done to us, we are still valuable and we still matter. I'm just making sure I'm in the right place. I think I might have skipped a page. Hang on. Yeah. This brings me to share. No, I did that already, right? Yeah, I did that. Okay. As we reflect on building bridges, acceptance, belonging, and the power of connection, allow me to share one more quote. I missed that sentence when I was looking through my notes. Allow me to share one more quote with you that echoes the lessons of resilience, the promise of acceptance, and the transformative power of connection. It's probably one of my most favorite quotes. Helen Keller once said, "Although the world is full of suffering, it's also full of the overcoming of it." In closing, I urge each of you to encourage the youth to embrace their journey with an open heart and an unwavering belief in their own worth. Together, we can transform the narrative of adversity into one of hope, belonging, and limitless potential. No matter your age, if you're suffering or you're feeling alone or feeling like you don't belong, draw near to your friends, your mentors, and those that care for you. If you need help, if you are suffering, find someone to confide in. Don't try to make the journey on your own. Thank you to the Alex Panton Foundation and to all of you for being the light that guides us to a world that's more inclusive, compassionate, and connected.